Maple Street, a picture of American calm. White picket fences, green lawns, children playing until dusk. At the center, 217 Maple, home of Arthur Blackwood. Arthur was the heart of the block, a retired teacher, always ready to help. If your car died, he had jumper cables. If your dog ran off, he'd help you search. He hosted block parties, remembered birthdays, and offered lemonade on hot days. Everyone trusted Arthur. He was the man everyone thought they knew. But behind the smile, something was hidden. His house was always perfect, tidy, painted windows gleaming. He lived alone, his wife gone for years, filling his days with gardening and hobbies. His roses won awards. His kindness was legendary. He seemed so normal, so dependable. But some threads, when pulled, unravel everything. Life on Maple Street went on, children grew, families moved, but Arthur remained. He was a landmark of kindness in a world that often felt unkind. No one suspected a thing. Why would they? He was just Arthur. The illusion was perfect until it shattered, leaving a hole in the heart of this quiet neighborhood. That night, as word spread about the discovery outside 217 Maple, a new voice emerged. Linda Myers, from 3 houses down, called the police tip line. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper, as she asked to remain anonymous. She claimed she'd seen something she hadn't told anyone, not even her husband. Linda described a memory that haunted her. Just a week before the leak, she'd been up late, unable to sleep. Through her front window, she saw Arthur standing at his gate, bathed in the pale glow of a street lamp. He wasn't alone. A tall figure, face hidden beneath a hood, slipped out from the shadows. The two men spoke in hushed tones, glancing up and down the street. Linda watched as Arthur handed the figure a small, heavy-looking bag. The stranger nodded, then vanished into the darkness, leaving Arthur staring after him for a long, silent minute. What Linda described didn't match the police timeline. Earlier reports insisted Arthur was always alone at night, his routines unbroken. But Linda was certain. She remembered the way Arthur's hands shook as he locked his gate, the way he kept looking over his shoulder. She remembered the odd, metallic scrape as the stranger left, like something being dragged along the curb. Her account raised new questions. Who was the shadowy figure? What was in the bag? And why would Arthur, a man known for his honesty, hide a midnight meeting from his neighbors? Linda's statement was unsettling, but the police couldn't ignore her details. If she was right, Arthur's secrets ran deeper than anyone had guessed. And somewhere on Maple Street, a witness was left wondering if she'd seen something not meant for her eyes. It started with something simple, a plumbing problem. The city water department got a call, low water pressure on Maple Street. Workers Dave and Carlos traced the issue to a leak in front of 217 Maple. Routine job, dig, fix, move on. But this time was different. Their shovels hit a pipe not on any city map, an illegal line leading to Arthur's house. Then came the smell, chemical sweet and rotten. They called the police, as protocol demanded. An officer arrived, expecting paperwork, but the odor changed everything. The pipe led to a concrete slab under the lawn, something that shouldn't be there. The smell grew stronger, clinging to the air. Carlos, uneasy, told the officer, "Never seen anything like this." The officer radioed in. "We've got an illegal water line and a strange smell. Something feels off." The house was dark, no answer at the door. The city workers were spooked, so was the officer. What started as a simple leak was about to become Maple Street's nightmare. With a warrant, police entered Arthur Blackwood's pristine home. The first floor was as expected, neat, clean, ordinary. But the smell from the basement door was overwhelming. They opened it. Cold, chemical air rushed out. Officers descended, flashlights cutting through darkness. The basement was a laboratory, a tomb. Along one wall, dozens of sealed industrial barrels, each labeled with a name and date. On a steel table, surgical tools, not gardening shears. Freezers hummed, power cords snaking to a makeshift panel. The scene was chillingly organized. One officer fled upstairs sickened, the rest stood in stunned silence. They opened a barrel human remains, preserved in chemicals. Jennifer M., 1998, another Michael P., 2004. It was a private graveyard, a hidden collection. Police radioed, "Multiple bodies, multiple victims, we need forensics, find Arthur Blackwood, now." There were at least 20 barrels, maybe more. The monster had been hiding in plain sight, right on Maple Street. While cataloging evidence in the basement, a rookie detective noticed a loose brick behind the workbench. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, was a battered leather diary. Distinct from Arthur's clinical logs, its pages were stained, the handwriting jagged and erratic. Each entry was more disturbing than the last, Sketches of masked figures, symbols scrawled in red ink, and entries written in code. The harvest approaches. They watch from the circle of ash, obey the keeper. Some pages were torn as if ripped out in haste. Others featured cryptic maps, arrows pointing to locations across the city, dates marked with strange sigils. Forensics called in a code breaker. As the team worked through the night, they uncovered references to rituals, gatherings beneath the city, vows to preserve the chosen and honor the Order of Shadows. Arthur's name appeared only once, signed at the bottom of a page. Initiate Blackwood, 1987. Detectives realized with growing dread, Arthur may not have acted alone. The diary hinted at a secret society, one that may still be active. Every decoded line raised more questions. Was Maple Street just the beginning? As dawn broke, the team understood the chilling truth. Catching Arthur was only the first step. The darkness ran deeper than anyone had imagined. The news hit Maple Street like a shockwave. Arthur Blackwood, the friendly neighbor, impossible. But the evidence was undeniable. Neighbors gathered, horrified as police swarmed the house. Carol, next door for 30 years, told detectives, "He said he preserved botanical specimens, showed me a rose in a jar once, said his process was a secret." Inside, police found Arthur's journals, not diaries but logs. He wrote about his victims as specimens, not people. He lured travelers and runaways, describing his process with chilling detachment. He called it his collection, preserving youth and beauty, stopping time. Boxes of personal items, a missing man's license, a vanished student's necklace, each labeled to match the barrels. He kept trophies. The crimes spanned decades, crossing state lines. Arthur was not just a neighborhood killer, he was one of the most prolific serial killers ever, hidden behind a friendly smile. In the garage, police found more containers, smaller, numbered, dating back to the 70s. "Don't open them, bag them for the lab," the sergeant ordered. The victim count was rising. The horror was only beginning to unfold. Arthur Blackwood's arrest was quiet. He was found at a library, reading about horticulture. He didn't resist, just smiled. But his capture brought only more questions. The numbered containers held not bodies, but pieces, victims never identified. The biggest twist, his final journal entry written before the leak. "My work here is done. The collection is complete, but my student is ready to begin his own." Was there another? Police found no leads. Maple Street is quiet again, but it's a fearful silence. The house at 217 is empty, a dark scar on the block. Neighbors trust less, wave less, wonder more. The roses are dead. The questions linger. Who were the lost? Is there a student? Is another monster waiting, hidden behind a smile? The case is closed, but for Maple Street, the story is not over. The whispers of the vanished remain, a haunting reminder of the secrets that can lie just beneath the surface of a perfect life. As the investigation stretched on, Maple Street changed. Where once there were block parties and borrowed cups of sugar, now there was suspicion. Doors stayed locked. Eyes lingered behind curtains. The silence wasn't just fear, it was a wedge, driving neighbors apart. Cut to muffled interviews, voices altered for privacy. A longtime resident, voice wavering. "I used to let my kids play outside every evening, now I keep them in. I look at every neighbor and wonder, could it be them?" Another quieter, "We all thought we knew each other, but after what Arthur did, who can say what's hidden behind closed doors?" Insert flashes of old photos, smiling faces at barbecues, children on bicycles, then dissolve to empty streets and shuttered windows. A woman recalls, "There was that one summer, 3 years back. The Wilkins cat disappeared and so did the handyman. We thought nothing of it. Now I lie awake replaying every odd thing I ever saw." A younger man, barely audible, "Sometimes at night I'd hear digging. I told myself it was just animals. But now, I wonder if I missed something horrible." The voiceover returns, heavy with unease. The investigation had unearthed more than evidence. It spread a quiet poison, paranoia. Trust, once a given, was now a casualty. Every unexplained sound, every unfamiliar face became a potential threat. On Maple Street, the real damage wasn't just what Arthur Blackwood had done, but what he'd left behind. A community haunted, not just by loss, but by doubt. After the silence came the recordings. In the weeks that followed Arthur Blackwood's arrest, police released fragments of evidence. Audio tapes, interview transcripts, and witness statements. Each one peeled back another layer of the mystery. First, the interview room. A detective's voice, steady but tired. "We need to know about the nights you spent at 217 Maple. Who else was there?" A neighbor, voice trembling. "I'd hear two voices, sometimes late. One was Arthur's, the other, younger maybe. I thought it was his nephew, but I never saw anyone leave. Then the tapes. Static, then Arthur's calm tone. Every specimen must be catalogued, nothing left to chance. My student observes, he learns, he's almost ready. In the background, faint breathing, another presence. Silent, but unmistakably there. A former mail carrier recalled. Packages always addressed to different names, but the handwriting was the same. I never questioned it. I wish I had. The most chilling tape, never meant to be heard, was recorded on a stormy night. Arthur's voice, low and deliberate. We are the gardeners. We prune, we collect, we preserve. Soon, you'll take over for me. Detectives played these recordings for hours, searching for clues. Was the student real or just a delusion? The tapes suggest he was more than a figment. He was an accomplice, or perhaps an heir. These testimonies, these tapes don't answer every question, but they prove one thing. Arthur Blackwood was never truly alone. And on Maple Street, the shadows are deeper than anyone ever feared. The investigation shifted to a cold, fluorescent-lit room at the heart of the precinct, the evidence room. Here, cardboard boxes and plastic bags held everything Maple Street had tried to hide. Detectives, gloves on, worked methodically, cataloging the contents of Arthur Blackwood's life. First, the photographs, hundreds tucked into envelopes, some decades old. Faces blurred, locations unmarked, each one a silent witness to the secret rituals of 217 Maple. Some images showed strange symbols scrawled on basement walls, others, shadowy figures half caught in the flash. Next, the journals. Dozens, bound in battered leather, their pages filled with codes and cryptic diagrams. Forensics experts pored over them, slowly piecing together timelines, names, and a pattern of obsession. One journal entry read, "The apprentice watches. The cycle must continue. The box remains sealed until the right moment." But it was the box itself, heavy, iron, and padlocked, that drew the most attention. Its surface was etched with the same symbols seen in the photographs. When forensics finally cracked it open, they found vials of unknown substances, a set of antique keys, and a single blood-stained handkerchief. DNA analysis would later confirm what everyone feared. The handkerchief belonged to a missing local boy. With each new discovery, the story of Arthur Blackwood grew darker. The evidence room was no longer just a storage space. It was a map of secrets, each clue pointing to horrors yet uncovered. And as detectives sifted through the evidence, one question echoed. Was the true apprentice still out there, ready to unlock the next chapter? In the wake of the evidence room revelations, a veteran cold case detective, Detective Harris, stepped forward. His weathered hands traced old files yellowed with age from a locked cabinet untouched for years. These files chronicled a string of unsolved disappearances spanning decades, each case marked by a familiar unease. Names long forgotten, faces faded in black and white photographs, all vanished within miles of Maple Street. As Harris compared notes, chilling parallels emerged, cryptic symbols found carved into trees, the same antique keys, and whispers of a shadowy figure known only as the Mentor. Flashbacks flicker across the screen, children on bicycles vanishing at dusk, a masked figure watching from the woods, a box, eerily similar to Arthur's, buried beneath a crumbling foundation. The deeper Harris dug, the clearer it became. Arthur Blackwood was not the origin, but the continuation. Each cold case file pointed to someone who moved in the background, orchestrating, teaching, and then disappearing before suspicion could catch up. The timeline stretched back further than anyone had imagined, connecting the horrors of Maple Street to an even older evil. As the investigation expanded, the detectives faced a grim realization. The darkness infecting Maple Street was part of a much larger pattern. And the true architect, the one who had taught Arthur everything, may still be out there, watching, waiting for the next apprentice to take up the mantle. The story was no longer just about one man or one street. It had become a legacy of terror, woven through the town's history, its echoes growing louder with every secret uncovered. As the evidence mounted in the cold confines of the precinct, a chilling new revelation came to light. Arthur Blackwood may not have acted alone. A name, long whispered in neighbor statements and buried in police transcripts, surfaced again and again. The transcripts revealed late-night phone calls, unexplained visits, and a second set of footprints found near the basement window on the night everything changed. Detectives pored over interviews, voices trembling with unease. One neighbor recalled seeing a figure, tall, always hooded, slipping down Maple Street just before dawn. Another remembered a strange car parked outside number 217, engine idling, its driver never seen but always present. The pattern was undeniable. Someone had been helping Arthur, watching, waiting, orchestrating from the shadows. As the investigation deepened, tension rippled through the precinct. Every clue was re-examined, every photograph scrutinized for a second face. The hunt for the accomplice became a race against time, as fear spread that the apprentice, or perhaps the true mastermind, was still at large, ready to continue what Arthur had started. The darkness on Maple Street was no longer confined to one man. It had spread, hidden in plain sight, and now the detectives found themselves questioning everything and everyone. They thought they knew. In the stark, echoing silence of the interrogation room, Arthur Blackwood sits across from the detectives, his hands clasped, knuckles white. The walls around him are lined with transcripts, photographs, and the damning evidence collected over months. The air is heavy, each breath measured, each second stretched thin. A detective slides a folder across the table. Inside, late-night phone logs, surveillance stills, and a final piece. The accomplice's handwriting, matched to notes found in Arthur's home. Arthur's eyes flicker, a tremor runs through his hands. The room is quiet, save for the soft, relentless ticking of the clock. With every question, the weight of the truth grows unbearable. Arthur's voice, once defiant, begins to falter. He recounts the nights of whispered plans and coded messages, the silent partnership that blurred the lines between guilt and innocence. The detectives press on, revealing a twist. The accomplice, his own cousin, had been feeding the police information from the start, desperate to end the cycle before it spiraled further. Arthur's composure cracks, tears fall as he confesses to every detail. The break-ins, the threats, the manipulation of those closest to him. In a final broken whisper, he reveals the fate of his accomplice. A deal struck with the authorities for immunity, in exchange for testimony that brought the whole operation down. As dawn breaks over Maple Street, the truth is finally laid bare. The darkness recedes, replaced by the first fragile light of justice. But the scars on the neighborhood, and in the hearts of those who lived through the terror, may never fully heal. The morning after Arthur Blackwood's confession, a ripple of unease spreads through the precinct. In a dimly lit office, Detective Harris sits alone reviewing old case files when a hesitant knock breaks the silence. Former Officer Linda Monroe steps inside, eyes shadowed with years of secrets. Her voice trembles as she admits to what no one expected. Years ago, she suppressed crucial evidence tied to Arthur's crimes, paralyzed by threats against her family. Flashbacks flicker across the screen, Linda receiving anonymous letters, her hands shaking as she locks away files marked confidential. She describes sleepless nights and the silent terror that forced her into complicity. The revelation stuns the detectives, but Linda's confession doesn't end there. She names others, neighbors, officials, even a respected community leader, each having played a role, knowingly or not, in shielding Arthur's operations. The scene shifts to a dramatic confrontation in the precinct's main hall. Names are spoken aloud, faces pale, and the web of enablers is finally exposed. Some break down in tears, others protest their innocence, but the truth is undeniable. The darkness on Maple Street was never the work of one man alone. As Linda finishes her confession, the air grows heavy with a complicated mix of relief and sorrow. The camera lingers on her face, etched with regret, before panning across the stunned crowd. Justice has found new targets, but forgiveness remains uncertain. The chapter closes on a silent montage, torn photographs pieced together, evidence bags labeled anew, and the community bracing for another wave of reckoning. Catharsis washes over Maple Street, but as questions of justice, complicity, and redemption hang in the air, it's clear the story is far from over. As the sun rises over Maple Street, a new chapter quietly unfolds. The news of Arthur Blackwood's confession spreads through the neighborhood, lingering in the early morning air. Houses that once shuttered their windows in fear, now open their doors to let in the light. In the days that follow, the community gathers for a candlelit vigil beneath the old maple tree at the center of the block. Faces illuminated by flickering flames, neighbors embrace, sharing memories of sleepless nights and the silent bonds formed in the shadows. Some speak softly of forgiveness. Others simply stand in silence, letting the weight of the past finally lift. Emotional interviews reveal the scars left behind. Mrs. Langley, whose home bore the brunt of the break-ins, wipes away tears as she describes the kindness of strangers who helped her rebuild. Children once afraid to walk alone now play in the streets again, laughter echoing where silence once reigned. A memorial is placed at the corner where it all began, a modest plaque inscribed with the names of those affected, and a message, "May we never forget, and may we always find the courage to heal." Flowers and handwritten notes pile up, tokens of remembrance and hope. As the days turn to weeks, Maple Street begins to heal. Fences are mended, gardens replanted, and a sense of trust slowly returns. The final threads of the story are woven into the fabric of the neighborhood, leaving behind lessons of resilience, community, and the enduring power of truth. In the end, Maple Street stands not as a reminder of darkness, but as a testament to the light that can emerge when a community stands together. The story closes, but the echoes of resolution and reflection linger, promising a future shaped by understanding, unity, and hope.